Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. Welcome to part 2 of Build the B9 from Mobius Models. And if you're just joining me for this part and haven't seen part 1, please go back and check out part 1, which will explain to you how we got to this point. And also we are using the Starling plug and play lighting kit and soundboard, which how you get a hold of that is in the description below. It's also in part 1 description, and of course Paragraphics photo etch for this awesome machine. And we'll get some beauty shots at the end, and we'll talk about pros and cons, but lots of fun. So in this episode, we will be completing the head, installing the lights into the brain. It's kind of complicated, but you know, we'll take our time and we'll get it done, and it's going to look awesome because it also requires a little bit of photo etch, which I'm actually have been working on here behind the scenes. So let me show you this piece, which I've fashioned, and I'm just sort of carefully pushing up the fan blades on this to 45 degrees, which is what it asks you to do. I'm just sort of guesstimating it really, but they go up. They may need to go up a little higher, but this is the piece you end up with. This is the piece that came with it. You know, not a lot of difference, and you could argue that the detail on this is a little stronger than it happens to be on the Paragraphics piece. But what I would say to you is, go with the Paragraphics piece if you can, only because it is it's a lot thinner, and it's just a lot crisper, and it just shows off the dynamics of the internal workings a lot better, in my humble opinion. Okay, so the first thing we're going to tackle is these clear parts that you see here. But before we do that, let me take the power pack and show off this wonderful machine. You put the power pack in and on she turns. It's great fun, and it's a really clever way to present this kit. And you know, so for all of those people like myself who are complaining about reed switches, and I do complain about them, only because of the fragility of them. I've broken so many of them, but I'm a little more careful now than I ever was. But I have to tell you, a reed switch is a much better way to present this than switches and buttons on a base. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just my opinion. Okay, so what we're going to do is, robot, we're going to shut you down by removing your power pack, and we're going to set that aside for a second, and we're going to concentrate on the brain. And so I'm dry fitting parts now, because the wiring has to go through this connective piece here. It has to go through. Now I'm supplied this little piece of plastic tubing that's going to allow me to feed my wires up through here. So everything has to come through here. And then once it comes through here, we're going to have to do a little bit of modification to the parts that come with the kit. So here are the parts that come with this kit. And this piece, we're going to need to be doing a couple of things. We're going to need to improve the depth and the width of these little grooves, because we're going to be putting some shrink wrap over our little SMD chips. That's going to require also a little bit of modification to this part, which is going to require us to nip off this bottom piece, obviously, because we need to be able to close this up. And the idea being here is that when you push these two pieces together, and they clamp, they form that clamp, they have to be able to hold our new piece of shrink wrapped SMD chip. And so that's what we're going to be working on. So I've got to get that organized. And I've also got some clear parts here. This is the brain. It sort of holds the eyes, and it also holds all of these hieroglyphics that come on these clear parts here. And these clear parts are going to get some photo etch on them. Here's the photo etch that I've got ready to go here. And so all of that has to be done. And so while you're, well, I'm going to say, that's going to take me a few hours. But when we come back in the next segment, I will have attached these two clear parts and painted them up correctly. And we'll jump in and we'll talk about what it's going to take to actually get the hieroglyphics in the paragraphics pieces attached to the clear parts and then attached to the brain head. So we'll look at all of that. We're not going to miss any of it. I am so glad I turned this build into two parts because there are a lot of moving parts, and I really wanted to document what I was doing with this Starling Tech plug and play aftermarket light set. The instructions are very good, but there's a lot going on, and you just gotta take it step by step. Okay, so to continue with what we're doing, what I am doing at the moment is I'm making these grooves a lot wider than they were, and I've made this center hole a lot wider so that all of the SMD wires can come through here. There's plenty of room in there now for the wires to get up. And this is the part where obviously your brain rods, the eyes in essence, the lights will come out of. Now there's a second part to this, and it's this part here. Forgive me, I don't have the part numbers. I can call them out. This is part 44 in the build guide. And so what we've got to do now is we're going to leave this pin in underneath, but the top pin we're going to remove, and we're going to grind down this center post, and then we're going to drill 3 holes for lights to go up to the eyes, because in our set that we're given, there are 3 leads that are, let me get my hand out the way. There are 3 leads here that are green, and there are 2 leads that are actually painted white. So they're identified specifically for how this goes together. So you've got your group, you've got your cluster for the eyes and the flashes, and then you've got your cluster for the rods in the face. And so as I was explaining here again, we're going to remove this center part, and we're going to add 3 holes, and that's going to allow these very fine SMD chips to come through. So that is what I'm going to do now. I've also painted in the aluminum, and I'm really liking this for the brain. I've painted this aluminum, these clear parts with the aluminum, the gloss aluminum, and I think that's going to give us a little light bounce, and that's going to work really well. And then I've got these braces here for the hieroglyphics. We'll take a look at what we're going to do with those in just a second. But I wanted to memorialize this so that we don't miss a step of how this is going to be constructed, because this is kind of the beef of this part of the build. First thing I have to do is I've got to get this piece installed. So the black ring, and then this coat goes over it and is sealed, and then that sits on the robot. It sits on the robot like this. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to get that glued up. So just want to take you through this step by step. We'll get this glued up. Okay, so the clear parts that form the fingers, that there's 7 of them that extend in front of the face, and they are amber. And on the original robot, they have a small movement to them. But what essentially you were asked to do with the kit is just simply tip these SMD chips with amber paint. And I thought, okay, and then you've got to stick it through this shrink, and that becomes essentially becomes your finger. But I thought we could do a little better. So I have what I think is an improvement. You'll be the judge. Okay, let's take a look at what I've got. So this is the shrink that comes with it, and this is a shrink that I have put one of the clear fingers in one end. Now I trimmed this finger just a little bit, but I'm using it as a fiber optic. Now the reason why I like this idea is because these are already formed into nice bulbs. And that's the effect that I'm looking for, is the bulb. I don't like the chip. I just don't think it's accurate enough. However, if we take this element here, and then we see here, let me get you here, bam. Then what you do is you take one of these little SMD chips and you slide it through like this, and you push it all the way to the end. Now I've not dipped these in amber yet, but I will. You get that. Now when you fire up the robot, let me put his battery pack in. When you fire up the robot, do you see? You get the effect through the bulb like a fiber optic. That is a much cleaner result, in my opinion. So that is the way I am. That's the way I am going. Couldn't be happier. So so that's cool. The other thing I wanted to mention is that as we sort of put this together, there's a little bit of assembly that you've got to do. You've got to feed everything through and get it nested. So I'm sort of doing all the pre-builds, and then we'll start the final assembly, and we'll complete the unit. The other issue I've got is the face plate, the triangle that forms the face plate. I'm realizing that I've got 3 lights, my greens, green colored, not green as in color, but greens. They've got to come through this little sandwich, and they've got to poke up through these 3 holes here. They've got to poke up through there. Now, if I glue these together and then try to finish the face plate, I'm going to have quite a bit of a time feeding these through. Now I can do it with some tweezers. I realize that my tweezers will actually go in here, and I should be able to feed them through, but I can't finish this faceplate until those lights are in. So so what I think I'm going to do, because the clear part has to go on like such, and then my photo etch has to go over it like this kind of thing. That's what we're looking for. Now I can't get any of that done, unfortunately, in an order that makes it convenient for me. I'm going to have to do it in situ with this already fed through. Otherwise, I don't know of another way to do it. The other issue, of course, being that I've got to cleverly sandwich these these fingers into this part right here. And the way now, once these have been hit with a little heat, they're going to shrink. And once they shrink, that I shouldn't have an issue getting those in there. The other nice thing is putting the rod in. It does help straighten out this. It straightens out this shrink tubing, and it gives it a little more stability than you would anyway. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. That's my upgrade to the kit, courtesy of me to you. So anyway, I'm ready to do that. I've got some parts drying now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let everything dry overnight. And then we will do our sub-assemblies tomorrow. In the meantime, I can prepare my little fingers. I can dip those in amber and we'll be ready to go. And we should be able to start assembly in the next segment. A couple of things I had to deal with and had to work out. One is these fingers. Now I've got them inside the shrink tubing, and the amber bulbs are on the front. As we discussed, I am going to insert my chip into the back, and then we're going to just gently heat that up, just to get that to sort of close down on it and create almost like a fiber optic link. So those are ready to go, and I've been dress rehearsing what's going to have to happen here. And here is my sort of setup. And what I'm attempting to do here is, now you have to use some tubing. This is this white tubing that they give you. Well, they give you a piece of it. I've actually I'm using a slightly longer piece, so I'm using my own, but it doesn't matter. The point is that this is how you're going to feed all of your lights for the head. And there are several sections here, so let me just show you how this all goes together. You've got your what I'm calling the I guess you call it the neck ring, is what you'd call it, and that will go down first, and this is going to sit on the neck of the robot. Now you're going to need this tube to feed your wires through, right? So I'm just sort of, you drop that in like such, and then you just start building. Now obviously I've got to orientate this to figure out what the front and what the back is, because I've got my my ears that have to go on, and they're obviously going to have to face the front. So I'm going to have to make some decisions about the nicest looking part of this neck, which is not the easiest piece of clear plastic to glue together. The next thing that goes on is this piece here, and this is this is the radar section, and there are some orientation holes, pins. You just have to find them, and that goes on like such. And then after you've done that, the next thing you do is you put your neck in, and here's the neck, and that drops down like this. Now all of a sudden you can start to see this looking like the robot. Now once that has happened, the lower part of the bubble sits on top of it like this, and there's a locking nut for the fingers, and that drops down over this. Now the way this is going to work is you can either widen this, or you can either widen this piece here. let me get these out of the way. You can either widen this piece in the center, or you can just have it come up and sit snug. I'm going to look and see what the best way to go is because that's going to lock the bubble in place. Now, once that bubble is locked in place, like such, then the top of the bubble will sit on top of it after you've put the faceplate on like this. So everything then comes together, and then the bottom of the top of the bubble goes on, and you have your robot. Now, the reason why I am going through this ad nauseum is because feeding these wires through, it's kind of like once you do that, you're off to the races. And so you want to make sure that you're going to do two things. One, not tug on anything. So I might just put a little clip on here just to make sure that this isn't going to snag on anything. And then I'm going to gingerly just pull everything through and start building. The nice thing about the photo etch is there's a little arrow on the back here, and you can see this little arrow right here. It just indicates which way your photo etch goes on. And so everything is basically quite simple. So I'm going to go ahead and get the brain sorted. Then we're going to start feeding these wires through. I'm going to do that off camera, and then we'll take a look at next steps, because the tricky part is going to be getting these fingers installed into my SMDs, and but then we should be in pretty darn good shape. Okay, onward. Okay, so the photo etch is on, and it makes a huge difference, I have to say. And it definitely is worth taking the trouble to anneal your photo etch before you try to bend it, so it's not so springy. Most of you know, obviously, what annealing is. For those of you who don't, it's just simply putting the photo etch over some heat, just to sort of relax it almost. It's like it takes the tension out of it. Let it cool before you touch it. And then I put a metal primer on before I paint my photo etch so that you don't scratch it up. But it makes it a lot easier for you to bend it round curves and that sort of a thing. Okay, so my photo etch is on my brain, and that's looking really good. Here that is. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the process of actually putting together the head. Now, obviously, all of these wires for my chips have to go through to the top. And we've rehearsed this many times. I have rehearsed it many times, so I feel pretty confident that I'm going to be able to get it in the right order. The one thing that has become apparent to me now that I've actually got my my fingers ready to go is that I just have to make sure that once they are shrink wrapped, they've got to sit down in these little grooves that I have made. I've made them a little wider. They're going to sit down like that. And so what I want to do is just make sure that after I've put these in, that they will in fact do that. But everything has to come through here first. And so step one is to feed my chips through this tube. It shouldn't be too difficult, but it'll make it an awful lot easier for me to start feeding everything down through it. And so that's what we're going to do first. So step one is to start feeding everything through. Now, you know, you've got to do this bit by bit, really. but I'll show you here what I'm attempting to do, which is to very carefully just get everything through the steps that I need them to get through. So it's just a simple case of putting these together and getting them through step one, which is the sort of the neck ring is really what it is. And so that went through very easily, and that allows the crown to sit here very nicely. So that's looking like that. And so now I've got to just make sure that I'm orienting everything the way I want it. So I'm going to adjust my crown because I just want to make sure that I've got it oriented, you know, to the cleanest sort of look for me, really. So essentially, the neck ring has been installed, and I sort of chose I chose the most appealing visual because this clear part does not go together very well, and it's got very rough edges. But I've used some microcrystal clear to sort of fill it in, and it looks pretty decent. It's not terrific, but it looks pretty decent. Okay, and then after that, you put the radar section on, which is in two halves. Now I have not put the ears. I guess they call them the ears. I'm trying to get the nomenclature right. I haven't put the ears on, so they look pretty nifty. Those are the ears. And I have my yellow and my red. So that's good. Okay. So those are ready to be installed, but I'm going to just wait for a little bit here just to make sure everything is together. Then, of course, the radar section, the neck, and the lower part of the bubble, which has now been permanently installed onto the neck. All of my light is through, and what I haven't done is I haven't permanently secured this. Let me show you here. It's a better look at it here. And the reason why I haven't done that, you can see I've got plenty of movement in it, is because I'm not exactly sure where I want it yet. And once I know exactly where I want it, then we'll go ahead and we will permanently install that. So things are looking really good. The next thing that has to happen now is I've got to permanently install this part here. I'll show you this part. And this is going to drop into the top of the top of this. This is sort of a drop down into the dome, and then this crown piece here will then connect to it. And that's what my fingers are going to live on. So now work is going to get a little tricky because I've got fat fingers and there's a lot of detail that I've got to do in here. But I feel very confident that I feel very confident that it's all going to sit nicely. And I've got plenty of slack here, so as long as I don't blow it and push this through, we should be in pretty good shape. So a delicate operation, but I feel like we're getting dangerously close. I've just got to take this really slowly. And so I'm gonna now get this installed, and that's just a function of now I can go ahead and install these fingers with a little heat, and go ahead and put these in one by one, test them, make sure they're working before I permanently install them, and they will look like thisage here. Here's one. And this is what it'll look like when it's installed. Now, I haven't obviously shrink wrapped that yet. So I've got 7 of those that I've now got to do. And then once I've got those done, I can permanently seat my center rod. I've got some locator pins for this, so I know exactly how this is supposed to go, and everything is centered the way it should be. So I know that I'm forward here, sort of like this. So and that will sit down on there. So I know I'm in good shape. Okay, we'll come back when I've got those fingers put on these shrink wraps. This is going to take me a little bit of time, and we're going to be careful with it. Well, here she is, the V9 robot from the original television series Lost in Space, created and produced by the amazing Irwin Allen. This kit is available from Mobius. The photo etch is available from Cult TV Man or from the Paragraphics website, Paul's amazing photo etch. And of course, this quite special B9 2.0 Life Force unit from starling-tech.com. Pretty cool. And of course, the Starling Tech allows you to create a little power pack for the B9. And of course, all you do is, it's a reed switch, as we know. You attach it to the robot, the power pack is on, and away she goes. There she is. And I'm just absolutely thrilled to have the B9 on the bench, and of course on the shelf where it belongs, on display, not in a box, as you know. This is a fun kit. The actual plug and playness of the sliding kit, it's all fine and dandy until you get to the brain and the head. Then it gets a little trickier, and the skill level does go up. So a word of caution for that. I do know that Ralph over at Tenov Controls has a similar unit that may be better for you, I don't know. And of course, Randy Newbert over at Voodoo has one as well. And if he doesn't have it in stock, I'm pretty sure he knows how to put one together for you. So that's it. Okay, let's take a quick look at some beauty shots and some video of this in action. And then we'll come back and I'll have some final thoughts.
I have located Chariot. Chariot is in motion. You're probably suffering a guilty conscience. I'm referring to our last conversation when you insulted me. My memory banks retain the information. You must apologize. My sensory units tell me you are very unhappy. Is there anything I can do? Current programming requires that I maintain this fixed position. In the event birds seek to steal from our garden, I am to scare them away. Dr. Smith, the father. Dr. Smith, the mother. It does not compute. I knocked off some of the bearded one's ears to please the youth. He sure is a dandy. Compliance, not possible. All systems preempted. Fixed position must be maintained. Command system of matter transfer unit incompatible with man-made command system. It is Dr. Smith who is a bubble-headed movie.
Okay, so there you go. Great fun. And I'm just absolutely tickled pink I was able to get this in my schedule this year, because, as I mentioned at the top of part one, I really intend to try and do a little more Irwin Allen. I've got a Spindrift and I've got a pod, but and now I have the B9, but I don't have the Jupiter 2 and the Chariot. So, and of course I do not have, if you could believe this, a Sea View. So we've got to get going here. There's too much fun to be had, and too many models to build for 2025. Absolutely thrilled with this one. Okay, hey guys, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm spruverse@gmail.com, and I post most days my in the weeds photos on Instagram. Hey, buy me a cup of coffee. That link is on my channel page. That's for my charitable builds. 2 or 3 times a year, I try to build something for those less fortunate, and that just helps out with the glue and the paint. But it's also there for you to say, hey, great job, and appreciate the channel. But hey, as always, please, I wish all of you be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.